Welcome to the Invention show. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and our guest today is Robert Sabin. He has several inventions that he's been working on and is ready to share them to the world on Invention show. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thank you, Brian.
Robert, interesting guy. I've had a chance to get to know you for quite some time. Why don't you tell us who you are and where you're from?
I'm from Long Island, New York, and I've been inventing for quite a while, and I'm retired from the precious metals business.
Okay, very nice. And I know that through your time of working the precious metals business and then retiring, you've had some time to work on some inventions. So why don't you tell us what the problem was that you had, and then how this invention, you have two inventions. Tell us about how it actually evolved into where it is today. What was the problem?
The problem is COVID. As COVID, as all of us know, there's no introduction required. There's a desperate need for a safe, non-toxic, non-invasive, rapid, portable, cost-effective treatment for COVID. And it rolled around in my mind for quite a while. And I came up with something. And also TB kills 1.5 million humans a year. Existing treatments are cost prohibitive for most of the world. It can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for extreme drug resistance treatment. They're toxic. Again, a non-toxic, non-invasive, rapid, quick, portable treatment is desperately needed. There's a huge unmet medical need for these things.
And TB, you're referencing tuberculosis, is that right?
Tuberculosis it is.
Okay, so
tuberculosis and COVID are 1-2 in infectious disease mortality in the world.
Now, you don't have any medical schooling at all. So you've come up with some devices that kind of treat, or you're saying to kind of cure. I don't know how deep you're getting into the solution for them or the treatment of them, but how, with your experience of being a trader, to turn into something kind of medical device?
Well, I was in the melting and refining of metals and for many years, and I'm a neurotic person who can't sleep at night, and my mind is always rolling with ideas. And I decided to put them into practice, into a workable invention to solve these problems. The pain and suffering caused by TB for thousands of years, it's immeasurable, it's incalculable. And COVID is here to stay. There'll be variants, there'll be all kinds of toxicities. Plus, there's always a chance of a very pathogenic killer COVID arising. And there's a huge unmet medical need for treatments which are safe and cost effective.
Let's take a quick peek at some of these two inventions. So you have a cold weather heating mask. So why don't you show us what that's about, Robert?
The cold weather mask is directed at the 25 million people with asthma, the 100 million people who walk, athletic performance, coronary heart disease, etc. There are no heated masks for inhalation. There are heated gloves, there are scarves, there's socks, there's jackets. There are no heated masks for heating the air in cold climates. There are 25 million people who suffer from asthma. There are 100 million people who walk, 63 million people who run and jog. There's a huge unmet need for this. All our lives we were taught, bundle up before you go outside. But now with this mask, hopefully you can bundle down.
And
the
go
an
ahead.
enormous amount of energy is used to heat cold air up to make it usable in the body. And that causes causes cold in the peripheral tissues, etc. This heats the core of the body, and it could totally, severely mitigate the effects of cold. Furthermore, I have a drop-in N95 filter, which will be the only warm air N95 mask in the world.
Wow.
I have made a prototype. It's patented. I have a Chinese company. We're preparing to manufacture it. Lightweight, safe, hopefully, and effective. An enormous amount of energy is used to heat cold air up in the winter, causing fatigue, loss of energy.
Very impressive, Robert. So this is a prototype. You have a fully issued utility patent for a cold weather heating mask. And does it run on electric or power? How is it when I have it on? Yep.
There is a resistive tape, a little a heat tape inside the mask, which is connected to a lithium ion battery, which is either in the mask, outside the mask, or an armband. The battery is worn in an armband with a wire going to the mask.
Okay. Very nice, Robert. Nice job. It looks like a pretty nice prototype, and you're going into production. So maybe you could just put that down for a minute and let's talk. So in order for you to have gotten this far, tell us kind of your journey of where you ended up today having that prototype. So it probably wasn't that easy to go through when you came up with the idea to get to the stage of having this prototype and almost being in production right now. So what are some things along the way that you had to go through to get to where you are today?
I'm a gadget freak, and I always monkey around with a lot of different gadgets. I also have 3 different sets of heated gloves, which run on lithium ion batteries. I have a vest, 3 different vests. And I searched the literature, which is essential for anybody thinking about inventing, do an international search. And there was nothing like this. The bulk of the heat leaves the body through the respiratory system. But yet no one addressed that. They have socks, they have hats, scarves, jackets, vests, but no one addressed that. So it was a novel approach. So
Okay.
then I filed for a patent, and advice to inventors is you don't do anything unless you have intellectual property protection. Nothing. After I got the patent, I found the company that manufactures heated garments and batteries, a company in China, and they're very interested. And we're working together. We're toward the final stages of a production model now. I've tried prototypes on myself at -40 in Canada, very successfully.
Okay.
It's lightweight, fits on the mouth. It could be a total game changer.
Very nice, Robert. Congratulations on what you've done with it so far. And hopefully the next time you come back to Got Invention show, you'll show us how much further you've gotten. Hopefully we'll see it in production, or maybe you're looking for a licensing deal, but you've gotten it to a point where you're ready for manufacturing. And what's your proposal of who's going to be purchasing it, and what's your vision of where a consumer would end up buying it?
I want to get it on Amazon. That's the place for it. Then I have several people to review it. But the bottom line is it has to work. And I'm very hopeful it'll work. There are 3 heat settings on the controller on the mask for different levels of cold.
Now, Robert, as far as the battery, is that something that we have to plug in as a USB? Is it something that you have to replace? Tell us about some of the challenges that you had with working on your prototype to get it to a point where you kind of finalized where it's at.
I The batteries have been widely established and proven in heated clothing. It's established, proven technology. So I lifted one of those batteries, and then carbon fiber resistive tape has been used before in heated clothing. I lifted that, which I rejected. I found a better heating pad than that, and I mated them together. It's so simple, but no one has done it, and there's such a huge unmet medical need for this. 25 million asthmatics, 100 million people walk, 63 million people run and jog. It also, in colder weather, will increase athletic performance by liberating the energy used to heat air up and directing it to muscles, increasing stamina, endurance, and strength.
Wow.
And
Robert,
it's also very extremely lightweight, a few
it seems
ounces
it.
on the face.
And you've made it out of a silicone on the outside, so I guess it's comfortable to wear.
There are a number of training masks which limit oxygen intake for athletics. And they use silicone and silicone rubber and neoprene. So all I did is copy, and diving mask. That's a standard in the industry. So I just use a silicone mask,
Okay. And
silicone to make my mask.
is
I
it going to
found a
have a
prototype
strap?
company that makes prototypes, and here I am.
And what about the strap? How is it going to stay behind your head or on your mouth?
The strap will go behind the head and attach to the mask on both sides. It's pretty standard, sort of like a scuba mask, which mostly all of you have seen.
Yep. Show us again, Robert. Show us the prototype. Put it on your face.
Well, there's no straps.
Right. There's no strap yet. So you have the silicone type of face mask. On the front is a filter, and inside the filter is a replacement N95 filter that you can protect yourself. You're saying it's for athletes. It's also for people who might want to protect themselves instead of wearing a regular face mask. They can use this with an N95. But this is really to be able to heat up your face and keep your face warm. Now, is it
But
only
heating up the air, not your face.
heating up the air and not the face?
Heating up the air, the inhaled, inspired air. There are 3 slots in the filter holder: N95, a carbon filter for large particulates, or a training mask filter to block the air for people using training masks. It's a multi-function mask.
And look, while you're talking with it on, we can hear you. So
It does not interfere with speech.
right. Okay. All right. Very nice, Robert. So hopefully we will see this the next round. You'll come back and you'll show us that it's actually in the market for sale. And we wish you all the best on that one. Now, go ahead.
I want to see it in Ukraine.
Okay. Yes.
There's a huge unmet need in Ukraine for a mask like this.
All right. Well, good perspective on where you're going, and hopefully we'll see it out there very, very soon. You're very close to going into production. So Robert, we're going to have the information of where we can see these or how we can contact you at the end of the show. But for all the people that are listening and watching, let's talk about the next invention that you have. You mentioned TB referenced as tuberculosis. So tell us about that invention, Robert. What was the problem there?
TB is, to say at the least, a nasty disease. You get 1.5 million people dying in agony. The World Health Organization and the industrialized countries are spending billions of dollars to control TB. There's drug-resistant TB, and there's a huge unmet medical need for, again, a safe, non-toxic, non-invasive, portable, cost-effective treatment for TB.
Okay. So go ahead.
The literature discloses that 100 76 degrees for 20 minutes, kills the bacteria. The Finnish sauna has been used for 7,000 years in Finland at 156 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit safely. The Invention uses those temperatures, probably around 180, 190, so that a person wearing this mask, it has a pressure regulator which mimics the CPAP, continuous airway pressure used for sleep apnea. And it's all controlled by a computer, so that a person inspiring the hot air would breathe it, and the heat would kill the bacteria. But it's a little more complex in that the second law of thermodynamics, heat flows from the hotter to the colder. Now, where the bacteria is in the granulomas, there's no heat regulating system. So it's hoped that the heat will heat the granuloma up and kill the bacteria. In vitro, bacteria submerged in water is killed in 20 minutes at 176. My proposed treatment is 1 hour at 180 to heat the granuloma up. If the granuloma gets heated, it'll kill it all. Existing treatments, the best, take 6 months, multiple pills a day, some very, very bad toxicities, and that's very expensive, and they're out of the reach of the bulk of the world. There's a huge unmet need for this.
So, Robert, in just to kind of sum it up, if you were speaking to somebody that doesn't necessarily know all the terminology that you just kind of gave to us, what is this? What does it do? Tell us what the problem is and what does it do, just to kind of clear it up in simple terms.
Okay, in simple terms, you would put the mask on. The airflow is computer regulated to mimic the CPAP pressures, which is used by 8 million people a day. Heat is the same temperatures used in the Finnish sauna for 7,000 years, without little or no toxicity. The orifice of the mask matches up with the orifice of the mouth, and the air flows, hot air flows right down the windpipe into the lungs, thought to be killing the bacteria.
Okay,
fast.
so this is bacteria of tuberculosis. Are there other diseases that you're proposing that it can treat?
Another major disease, which is a huge unmet medical need, is for lung cancer. Cancers of the respiratory system. The literature discloses that cancer cells are more sensitive to heat than normal cells. It's the same thing. Hot air goes down the windpipe into the lungs and would kill the tumor cells, kill them. No chemicals, none of this stuff. The treatment of cancer leaves much to be desired, to say the least.
Now, Robert, you're making, and I'd like to show the viewers what the machine looks like, and then you are making some claims here. So how can you justify those claims?
Well, as far as COVID goes, there's a number of papers and literature that heat kills COVID at these temperatures. Texas A&M, it's a half a second, etc. So there's no question that heat will kill it. Furthermore, Ford Motor Company has reconfigured their police cruisers to run at 136 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes on demand to kill COVID. There's no question. The only question is, will it kill the virus which is integrated into the cells, the ACL2 cells? That remains to be seen.
So here's
Then,
you.
At the end of the day, you end up with a 1 hour treatment for COVID, a 1 hour treatment for TB, and a 1 hour treatment for lung cancers of the respiratory system. All in
So
a safe, non-toxic, non-invasive, portable treatment.
I see you have kind of like a blower that has the hose or the tube that has some kind of sensor there or some kind of motor to be able to put the hot air through the mask that you're wearing. That's going to that's what you're proposing is going to treat lung cancer and tuberculosis
And COVID.
and COVID.
I use a heat gun, which is a glorified upscale hair dryer. It's computer controlled for airflow and temperature. It's been widely used since the 60s, for 60
Okay.
years industrially. The whole apparatus, this is the top of the heat gun showing the computer screen and the regulatory adjustment dials on top.
Okay. So, Robert, let's talk about. It looks like you put a lot of work into that, where it is today, and you're making these claims. So you made this prototype, and when you've been testing it, tell us about some kind of experiment or experience that you've had to prove that it works.
Well, I have a remote temperature sensor in the mask with a standalone monitor. It gives me very precise readings of the temperature at the mask. Then again, the Swedish sauna has been used at these temperatures for 7,000 years. And I tried it on myself numerous times at 180 to 190 degrees with no toxicity. It's proven that these temperatures kill COVID, kill TB, and kill cancer cells. And fast, real fast. So it would only require, for TB, it would take 1 week to find out. COVID, it would take a couple of weeks or a week. Cancer would only take a couple of weeks. I'm looking to test it now. Looking for someone to work with to test it now.
Okay, so you've tested
The
it on
IP is in
yourself.
place.
You've tested it on yourself. For what purpose? Just to see the toxicity. How did you know that it wasn't toxic what you were putting in? Because you were blowing the hot air in your body.
That is correct. But I'm blowing ambient air in my library, which is clean air. As far as I know, it's clean air.
Okay.
That I'm using. I'm using the same air that I breathe, and I'm adding heat to it. The second law of thermodynamics. Heat flows from the hotter to the colder. That's established and it's written in stone. It's established that high tumor cells are sensitive to heat.
Wow.
And it gets a little more involved in that.
Yeah. Well, Robert, what you've done at this point is you've made this prototype. You're looking for a partner, some university that can help you with a study. So I know that that's where you are with what the next steps are. You've just received the patent approval on it?
Yes, I have a patent on both inventions. And again, I stress to inventors out there, you don't do anything without a intellectual property. And although you may think your invention is the greatest thing in the world, you must do an international patent search to make sure nobody came before you. Otherwise, all your work is for naught. And then the other advice I have for inventors is to make a prototype, get the intellectual property, and take it as far forward as you can. Stay away from big companies. They don't have insight, and they're very cumbersome, and they're not agile. Go as far as you can yourself.
Well, Robert, you've come up with this idea. You had this thought. You made it reality by going through the process and development of it, getting patents issued, going through this whole thing of just being where you are today and now looking for the next step. So with the cold weather heater mask or heating mask, you're very close to going into production. The hot air therapeutic mask, as you call it, that you're very close. You've been waiting, and I know that you've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations to get to even having an issued patent on it, right? So that was a battle for you, right? And this is just a couple days ago that you got some good news.
That's correct. Dealing with the patent office, some are very, very, very good, and some are not as good.
You're talking about the examiners?
The examiners, and you just have to deal with it. You can't get around it. You cannot get around it, and you must have intellectual property. The good thing about the inventions is that they're very fast to test. My textbook says TB, new therapeutic, can be tested in a couple of days. Same thing with lung cancer. It's black and white. Either the tumor shrinks or it doesn't shrink. The same thing with TB. The testing is very fast to do.
What's
Very
your,
rapid.
Robert, in very quickly, just give us a quick vision of, let's say, in best case scenario, tell us where we're going to find your hot air therapeutic mask.
Well, I contacted a major university and I'm waiting for them to get back to me. I want to test it against TB and TB. And on the cold weather mask, I'm almost ready to go into production with it. With that, I need to find the right partners, people to work with. The heat generator in the hot air mask is a commercial product. It's already proven. It's out there. It's not rocket science. It's a done. It's mated to a patented mask. It's not a big leap. It's not a very costly leap. It's very cost effective, the unit.
Well, Robert, we wish you all the best. You have an amazing story of what you've been involved with in your life, and now all of a sudden turning into coming up with some medical devices that hopefully will make some changes. And we're calling the heating mask. It doesn't necessarily have to be a medical device because it's for a consumer. You're mentioning for athletes and so forth to be able to have that hot air being circulated in the mask. So you've been doing an amazing job, and hopefully the next time that you're on Got Invention show, we'll be talking about the distribution and how the TB and the COVID and the lung cancer, hopefully there's something there that the studies will find that you've come up with the solution or the treatment or the cure for.
The testing for TB, COVID, and lung cancer is very fast. It's the nature of the diseases. It's very, very fast. I'll have an answer.
Good. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, Robert Sabin. We appreciate having you on Got Invention show, and we will keep in touch.
Thank you, Brian. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Boy, that was very interesting. Intense passion, drive, and I know that he's going to see his products through and his ideas through. He's very, very close. Thank you all for joining us on Got Invention show. Till next time, watch other shows that we've recorded from the Got Invention show and keep being intuitive, coming up with great ideas and making your dreams come true. Thank you from Got Invention show.